staying safe these difficult times. Today I will be speaking to you on the law of wills. It's a very interesting subject. I would try to make it a little different because you already may have had the benefit of the wonderful lecture of Justice Nagamuthu, who went into great detail with regard to proof of execution and attestation of wills as required under the law. So I would try to address it from a different angle so that you will have the benefit of a different perspective altogether. Move aside the old adage, where there is a will, there is a way. Where there are lawyers, especially here, several of them, there is a will. Where there is a will, there is a lawyer. Several lawyers. That is the legal adage I would probably say which would aptly fit in for today's session. Wills, as you all know, is a very interesting subject, and equally complicated too, if not properly handled. In case you want to refer any books, I would suggest you have the Indian Succession Act, the Evidence Act, the Madras High Court Original Side Rules, and the Tamil Nadu Court Fees and Suits Valuation Act. I will be quickly taking you through the types of wills. What are these safeguards, pitfalls, do's and don'ts when you draft a will when a client comes to you? What are codicils? What is probate? What is the process and effect of probate? What is the effect of contest to a probate proceeding? How does it happen? What is the effect of a grant? And finally, about revocation of a grant already made in favor of a person. These are the broad issues which I would like to take you through. The term will is actually a translated version of a Latin term, voluntas. It was used in the Roman law to mean the intention of the testator. It's basically a statement of a person regarding disposition of his properties on his death. We call this as a testamentary disposition. When there is no will, we call it intestate succession. Testamentary succession is where a person dies leaving behind a will. But Section 2H of the Indian Succession Act defines a will as a legal declaration of the intention of the testator with respect to his properties which he desires to be carried out into effect after his death. So what are the special characteristics of a will? Fundamentally, foremost special characteristic I would say is a will is irrevocable. It is not compulsorily registrable. It takes effect only after the lifetime of the maker or the executant or the testator, testatrix, whatever we may call it. Until then, it remains a mere declaration of his intentions. When a will is in place, there is no embargo for the testator to deal with the property, including dispose of the property. And whatever is available on the demise alone can be subject matter of the will or the probate proceedings. There is no particular form in which a will should be written, no particular language, can be in English, Tamil, Telugu, Kannada, however so the testator wants or desires. No stamp paper is required. It can be on ordinary plain white sheets also. Another advantage of a settlement of a will is you can impose conditions in a will. Unlike in a settlement or a gift, we know Section 123 and 124 and 125 Transferable Property Act, you can't impose conditions in a matter where the property is gifted. Conditions are wide. Therefore, in a will, the advantage is you can impose conditions as to how the bequest should be taken. Another big advantage of a will is it can include future properties. You can say, in case I purchase properties or shares, those also will be taken in the following manner. So this is also possible in a will, which is not possible in a settlement or a transfer inter vivos. It is not an instrument of transfer. You might take it straight away that will is not an instrument of transfer, but it is only a mode of devolution. What is the difference between a will and a transfer? Say a gift or a settlement. A transfer is by way of a gift, is a conveyance of existing property presently, in presenti. It means the transfer happens immediately. That is a transfer inter vivos between two living persons. Whereas a will is not a document in presenti. It postpones the enjoyment of a person. The vested remainder is only after the lifetime of the maker. Therefore, the important test you can see to find out whether it's a will, because nomenclature is very confusing. A document may be worded as a will, a document may be worded as a settlement deed, but it may be otherwise. So the easy test is to see whether how the properties are taken. The intention of the donor or the settler or the testator, see whether the document transfers the property immediately or only after the lifetime of the maker. If it is immediate, it is a transfer by way of settlement or gift. If it is postponed, it is a will. Who can write a will? Any person of sound mind of 18 years and over can execute a will. When illiterate persons, differently disabled persons like blind people, deaf people, dumb people can execute wills. In India, if you say religion-wise, all religions, people of all religions can execute wills, but there's an embargo when it comes to Muslims. Their wills cannot exceed 1/3 of their properties. But they can give the entire property by way of a hiba. But under a will, only 1/3 of their properties can be gifted. Even an insane person can execute a will during lucid intervals. So when he is all right, he can execute a will. Therefore, that is in fact section 59 of the Indian Succession Act permits even insane persons during lucid intervals to execute a will. Let's come to the types of wills. What are the types of wills? Broadly, I would say broad categories are privileged wills and unprivileged wills. What are privileged wills? As the name suggests, privileged wills. Section 65 of the Indian Succession Act deals with privileged wills. A soldier in actual warfare or employed in expedition, an airman so employed or engaged, a mariner at sea, subject to their having completed the age of 18 years, are entitled to dispose of their property by executing a privileged will. Why is it privileged? Because it has a lot of conveniences, exceptions to the general rule. Therefore, they are all privileged wills. Section 66 deals with the privileged wills. The rules governing privileged wills are: suppose it is wholly written by the testator himself, he need not even sign the said will. Will does not require attestation. So if suppose he writes half of the will, first page is written by the testator, the army man, the second page is written by his colleague, then it does not require attestation, but he needs to sign it. These are some categories which are listed in section 66. But what is important is the privileged will, even a word of mouth. Suppose he is dying in the battlefield, by word of mouth he can create a will. That will is valid as long as it is established that the instructions were given by him, more like a dying declaration. But the exception here is when will is a privileged will and executed, not written and by word of mouth, it should be in the presence of two witnesses, and it is valid only for 1 month from the date on which it is said. If the testator survives, if the army man or navy man survives 1 month, that oral will is not valid. These are privileged wills which we rarely come across. The most common form of wills which we deal with day in, day out is unprivileged wills. Unprivileged wills should be in writing. At least two witnesses should sign the will. And section 63 of the Indian Succession Act deals with how a will should be executed. The unprivileged will should be executed. Now let us see the other categories of wills. There were oral wills. Before 1925, when oral wills were permitted. After the commencement of the Indian Succession Act, the oral wills are not permissible. Any will has to be in writing only. Then holograph wills. What is a holograph will? When the entire will is in the handwriting of the testator, it is called a holograph will. But here, unlike a privileged will, the holograph will should be signed and should be attested by two witnesses. Because it is an unprivileged will, there is no privilege for a person who is not in the army, navy. Even for army, navy, they should be in actual warfare. Then we have joint will or conjoint wills. Only husband and wife may join together and execute joint will. Black's Law Dictionary defines a joint will
as an instrument made by two or more persons and jointly signed by them. Such a will is valid as regards the property of each of them, and probate may be granted upon death of one of them, and again another probate on the death of the other testator. The only disadvantage here is, suppose the person takes benefit under that will and he is one of the testators, he is a beneficiary from the other person. If he takes a benefit, he cannot revoke his dispositions later on. That is the embargo placed. Then there are mutual wills. What are mutual wills? Where there are two wills differed by different persons. One will, X is the executant testator, the legatee is Y. In Y's will, he is the executant, the legatee is X. So these are called mutual wills. Then there's a conditional will. A conditional will shall take into effect upon a contingency. It's called a conditional will. For example, a man says this will take effect if I die abroad. It's a conditional will. The concept of living wills is very common abroad, because in India we don't have statutory recognition. No, but let us know what a living will is about. As the name suggests, it is a will which is written and it is supposed to take effect during the lifetime of the maker, unlike a regular will which takes effect only after the lifetime. Mainly for the purpose of setting out how he should be treated in case suppose he goes into dementia or he goes into his brain dead. Before that, he can write a living will and say, I don't put me through a ventilator. That wish of the testator should be honored, but this concept is has not yet caught on in India, and there's no statutory or legal recognition also. Then there are international wills. International wills are required to be written as per the annex to the Convention of International Wills. Again, India is not a signatory to the convention, so we need not deal with that. Coming to drafting and execution of wills. When does a will become necessary? Yeah, 8 out of 10 people who come to lawyers, they think it is their duty to write a will. It is not so. When you inquire with them, they will say, I have 2 children, my wife is no more, I want to give it to my 2 children equally. Then there is no necessity for writing a will. You're only complicating matters, because children may be abroad, they'll have to come down to India, apply for probate, get letters of administration or what as the case may be. An expensive, cumbersome, time-consuming process. So basically you find the requirement of the person, the client who approaches you, and find out why he wants to write a will. Will should be written when it wants to defeat the line of succession. Suppose you want to give one son and deprive 2 daughters, you must write a will. Or suppose you have 3 properties, you want to give 1 property specifically to 1 daughter, another property to 1 son, another property to your wife, you can write a will. So these are specific bequests when to be made, you can write a will. It is to defeat the line of succession, you definitely have to write a will. How a will is to be written? First of all, let the client know the pros and cons of a will as against a settlement deed. The will, the testator can retain full control of the property. So there may be cases where he may be insecure. So in such cases, you must advise the client to write a will. So he may not be comfortable dealing with the property straight away and vesting it with his family members. He can always revoke the will and execute a fresh will if there is change in circumstances. It is very inexpensive to execute and register a will these days. So no stamp paper is required. And these are the advantages. The other advantage, as I told you earlier, is you can consolidate all assets in one particular document, including your future assets, which will approve to you. You can set out conditions in a will, which you cannot do in a settlement or a transfer or a gift deed. And most importantly, a will can be executed at the comfort of your home. What are the disadvantages? Disadvantages are very few. As I told you, time consuming. Of course, not for the maker, for the legal heirs. You will have to apply for probate. You will have to call the attesting witnesses to court to give evidence in support of the due execution of the will. And we have seen where properties are very huge, large properties were left behind in a will. There is likelihood of horse trading. The attesting witnesses are attempted to be purchased because they are the persons who are going to speak about proper due execution. A proof of will can be only mainly through the attesting witnesses. Therefore, the possibility of horse trading to buy out the attesting witnesses is one disadvantage. The other advantage is, if suppose it is not a registered will, you will not have copies. Suppose the person who is deprived under the will chooses to destroy the original will, there are no copies, then that's a big disadvantage. Of course, registration is optional. If you want, you can advise the client to register. Then there is, as I told you, there is no particular form in which a will has to be written. But still, it is desirable to take full instructions from the client as to the nature of the acquisition of properties, or you should not bequeath somebody else's property. Try to ascertain the veracity of such statement by supporting documents, then find out the family details of the person and the reasons why he is choosing the bequest in the manner he wants. That is very important. Use simple language. We are not in an extempore competition or English language competition where we have to emphasize on the technical and high-end terms, because the will, tomorrow the person who wrote the will is not going to be around to speak about it or clarify if there is any confusion or doubt. Therefore, make it as simple as possible. Simple sentences conveying the meaning would suffice. Check the language in which the testator is comfortable. That is very important. Tomorrow, that is again a ground which will be attacked. Ideally, prepare a draft on line of instructions given by your client. Get the draft vetted, retain the draft. We have seen many cases where there is a draft, but this draft is not produced during trial. The big handicap, of course, is not fatal, but still it is advisable to retain the draft because it will show that process in which the will was made. Now, ideally, I think you take advantage of the advancements in technology these days. A few years back, there was an article in the newspapers that Delhi was trying to implement videographing of execution of wills and registration. It's a very good move. And we see a lot of cases where suspicion is attached to execution of will, due execution of will. So if it is videographed, I think it will go a long way in helping the propounder prove the genuineness of the will. And coming to the most important aspect, choice of witnesses. As I told you, the role of the witnesses is a make or break. They are the persons who will make the will or break the will. If their evidence is shabby or wanting, or they don't inspire confidence in the court, then even a genuine will is likely to be lost. So therefore, the choice of witnesses is the most important. You will have to tell the client to choose preferably young witnesses, because the presumption is younger persons will outlive the aged testator. Not necessarily always, fate may play a different role, but still, ideally we would assume that a younger person in the age of say 40s to 50s, known to the testator. That is also equally important. He must be known to the testator. Two witnesses who will cooperate with the legatees at a later point of time, will have the time to come to court, give evidence, and stand by the truth of the execution of the will. So therefore, the role of attesting witnesses is very vital. The choice of attesting witnesses, you will have to advise the testator. You can't have an 86-year-old person attest a will. He may not survive the testator also. And these are, more importantly, the tested and ideally, I would say when the will is being executed, if suppose it is in a lawyer's office, you can engage the testator and the attesting witnesses some conversation which will strike you when later on you give evidence. Something which is very different or not normal. You can talk about anything which will probably flash in the mind of the attesting witnesses. They will recall this incident, that this also happened on that day. I was there very much in the lawyer's office when the will was executed. So the attesting witnesses are most important persons insofar as proof of will. And of course, the always burning question, can a beneficiary be an attesting witness? There is no prohibition in law that a beneficiary should not be an attesting witness. But the bequest, insofar as the attesting witness and even his spouse is not valid. So suppose X attests the will. He is given one of the properties under the will. That bequest cannot be upheld. but the will hold good in respect of the other properties, other bequests. Therefore, it's better to avoid. There is no embargo, but still it is better to avoid a beneficiary being an attesting witness. Because again, the role of the attesting witness and the propounder will come into play when the will is shrouded with suspicion is thrown at due execution. This will be one of the factors will be put against. So it's better to wise to avoid beneficiaries being attesting witnesses. Then what are the requirements of a valid execution? Section 63 of the Indian Succession Act and no beyond, read with Section 68 of the Evidence Act, is the required law and procedure which has to be adopted for due execution of a will. In fact, many of you, I'm sure, would have heard Justice Nagamuthu, and he has gone into great detail and benefit of an excellent lecture with regard to Section 63 and other provisions of the Indian Succession Act relating to execution and the applicable provisions in the Indian Evidence Act also. But briefly, I would take you, since it will be a complete talk, I would briefly take you to the valid requirements of execution. The testator must sign or affix his mark in a place where it shows an intention to execute a will. He may also give a direction in case he has not signed it, and all pages should be signed, because there are chances of mischief at a later point of time. Suppose only the last page is signed. So preferable to have the testator sign all the pages of the will. Then at least 2 witnesses should attest the will. Each of the attesting witnesses must see the testator sign the will or affix the mark on the will, or see the other person at the direction of the testator who has been asked to sign the will, or has received a personal acknowledgement from the testator of a signature or mark or of such other person. So it is not necessary that both the attesting witnesses should be available at the time of execution. If suppose there is only one attesting witness available, the testator signs the will, the first attesting witness who is available attests as the first attesting witness, he goes away. Later on, the second attesting witness comes to the testator's house in the evening, let us say. The testator must give him a personal acknowledgement saying that, see, this is the will I have signed in the morning in the presence of Mr. X, whose signature you can see. I would request you to please attest as the second attesting witness. This is valid. But the conditional requirement is both the attesting witnesses should sign in the presence of the testator. Then the next question, whether an identifying witness can be an attesting witness. An identifying witness is a person who identifies the signature of the executant of the document before the sub-registrar concerned. The law is now well settled. An identifying witness cannot be an attesting witness. His evidence cannot be given to prove due execution unless he also happens to be an attesting witness falling within the definition of the Act. That is, he should have witnessed the due execution of the will. Then there may be corrections. In spite of so many drafts, we stumble upon some mistake at the last moment. We don't have time to make corrections. Please ensure that the corrections are at least attested, countersigned by the testator. Date. Material changes like date and the name of the beneficiary or the bequest, ideally you should avoid. If there are any changes, better to redraft the will and take a fresh copy. Minor corrections, it's okay, but still get it countersigned by the testator so that pen follows the mind. Correction, testator applied his mind to the correction. That is going to be a point additionally in favor of the propounder at a later point of time. Ideal to have an executor named in the will. The advantage of naming an executor is the process of probating it is easier, cheaper also, in the sense that when you go for probate, paper publication is not required, and the bond is also not required. In cases of letters of administration, which I will take you the difference between the two little later, the letters of administration, court will direct a bond to be executed. In probate, it is not required. The idea behind it is, in probate, a person in whom the testator had confidence is named as the executor of the will. Therefore, he has already been authorized by the person who makes the will. Therefore, the court need not look further. But in the case of letters of administration, there is no executor appointed. The beneficiary comes to court. So when the beneficiary approaches the court wants to be circumspect. Therefore, the bond is directed to be executed so that he binds himself to all his actions in the event of a grant made in his favor. So therefore, there is importance of having an executor. Beneficiary also can be an executor. There is no harm. Suppose the testator is not able to sign. A person who signs normally, but because of his physical disability, he is not able to sign. Or an illiterate person, it is preferable to make a mention as to reason why he is affixing his left thumb impression. Normally, it is only the left thumb impression which is affixed, but right thumb impressions also can be affixed, but it has to be proved that there was a custom prevailing in that community that right thumb impressions can be obtained on documents. If the will is being registered, execution can be at the residence or at the registrar's office also. So sometimes what we do is we make a mention in the will itself as to the place of execution of the will. So you will have to be careful in drafting the will if it is going to be a registered will and going to be signed only at the sub-registrar's office. So probably better to make a mention that residing at so and so, being executed at this file of sub-registrar Tinagar or Perambur, wherever. The advantages of a will, I would say, is mainly you will have copies, certified copies of the original will in the event of the will being destroyed or lost. You can get the copies from the concerned sub-registrar's office. Courts have now fairly settled the law and have said merely because a will is registered, it doesn't straight away give an unfair advantage to the propounder. Still, proof of due execution and genuineness of the will have to be established by the propounder in spite of the will being registered. After due execution, custody of the will. This is a place where a lot of people make mistakes. Will may have been genuinely executed, but the actual legatee will not be able to even lay his hands on it. So ideally, we leave it with the executor in a sealed cover to be opened after the demise, or it can be retained by the testator himself in his bank locker or cupboard, which some people will stumble upon his death. So the idea is it should be come to light soon after his demise. You can't open a will after 30 years, much water has flown, and find that the intentions were much different. Therefore, ideally, you should custody of the will. It can be with the lawyer of the testator, the auditor of the testator, because these are persons who will come to know that the testator has passed away. So this again is an important factor. Custody. Now, what are codicils? We may have heard upon the word codicils. Section 2B of the Succession Act defines codicils as instruments in relation to a will, explaining, altering, or adding to its dispositions, and shall be deemed to form part of the will. A codicil, like a will, requires to be in writing and also to be attested by two witnesses. Same rules which apply to execution of wills will apply to codicils also. For example, A has executed a will. Testator, the testator executed a will and the executor died. So he may just write a codicil to the will and say, I have appointed so and so as executor in my will dated so and so. Now he is no more. Therefore, I am appointing a new executor. This codicil will suffice. Of course, there is always an option to revoke the earlier will and make a fresh will. There is no difficulty. But suppose there are only minor changes. You want to retain the major part of the will which you have already executed and is in place. You can choose to execute a codicil. And codicil always goes part and parcel of the will. Suppose there is a conflict between the wills, between two wills or parts of the same will. What happens? Section 88 of the Indian Succession Act is the answer. In wills, contrary to other registered documents, the latter part will prevail. The later clause will prevail. So suppose there are two wills, that's why we call it last will and testament. Similarly, within the same will, there is a contradiction. The first paragraph, he says, I am giving my property to my wife. The last paragraph, he says, I am giving it to my son. The last part will prevail. Because that is why we call it last will and testament. Well, that is the last intention of the person who made it. Therefore, Similarly, if a new will is made, the earlier will automatically get revoked. There is no necessity to even mention in your subsequent will that I am revoking my earlier will. It is, of course, safer to mention that I had executed a will for so and so reasons. I've changed my mind. I'm executing a fresh will. So, therefore, it's advisable to mention about the earlier will and why you are writing a fresh will. But courts have held, in spite of the fact that the will is silent about execution of an earlier will, the will automatically gets revoked the moment you write another will. Section 88 of the Indian Succession Act. Now, on the death, as I already told you, the will takes effect on the demise of the maker or the testator. So, what are the requirements after that? Now, there's a distinction: probate, letters of administration, and succession certificate, which most of you will be aware. I'll briefly breeze you through the three concepts. Probate is where the will names an executor. So the will presupposes the fact that there is a will, and the will names X or Y as the executor. There may be joint and several executors also. Section 2F defines probate: a copy of the will certified under the seal of a court of competent jurisdiction with a grant of administration to the estate of the testator. So this is the meaning of probate. Probate can be granted only to the named executor. Suppose the executor died before probate proceedings were taken or concluded, then the beneficiary will have to step into the shoes of the executor and continue the proceedings, but he will not be granted probate. He will be granted only letters of administration. So, letters of administration, the distinction is where the will does not name an executor. There is a will, but the will does not name an executor. Then you will have to apply and obtain a letters of administration with will. You can also obtain a letters of administration without will, where there are immovable properties and movable properties left behind by the testator. You can go to the court and pray for grant of letters of administration without will. Where there are only movables, you will have to get a succession certificate. There is no will, no immovable property. The option is succession certificate. All three you will have to apply before the district court or the high court. In fact, even a lost will or a draft of a will can be probated as per the terms of the Indian Succession Act. You can refer to sections 237 to 240. They deal with probate of lost will or a draft will also. And for academic purposes, the succession certificate, the sections applicable are sections 370 to 390 of the Indian Succession Act, 370 to 390. For letters of administration, it is part 9, sections 218 to 221. And for probate, it is 232 to 236. Then what is the requirement of a probate? When is a probate required? You may all have heard that probate is required only for some cities. Yes, insofar as the presidency towns of Calcutta, Madras and Bombay and the original jurisdiction of the high courts, if the property is situated in these places, the will requires probate. Suppose the properties are outside, say in Bangalore, but the will is written in Tinagar, that will also requires probate. Who are the persons who have to obtain probate? Even when the act was brought into force in 1927, Muslims were exempted from the requirement of probate. In an Act 26 of 2002, Indian Christians were also exempted from the requirement of probate. That act came into effect on 27th of May 2002. So Indian Christians and Muslims are now exempted. So today the requirement for probate or letters of administration of wills and codicils is limited to Hindus, Parsis, Jains, Buddhists, Sikhs within the territories of the three presidency towns, namely Calcutta, Madras and Bombay. As I told you, wills are outside, executed outside, but relating to properties in these three presidency towns, it will require probate. Refer to section 57 and section 213 in this regard. 57 and 213 of the Indian Succession Act. In fact, recently the Law Commission has recommended to the government so Law Ministry, to do away with Section 213. In fact, in the Madras High Court, to my knowledge, writ petitions have been filed challenging Section 213, especially after the amendment in 2002 exempting Christians from probate on the ground of discrimination. Writ petitions have been admitted and pending. So side by side, the Law Commission has also recommended for removal of Section 213. If done, the requirement of probate, even for these presidency terms, will be taken away. As per Section 213, no right as executor or legatee can be established in any court of law or justice unless a competent court of competent jurisdiction in India has granted probate or letters of administration with the will or authenticated copy of the will annexed. This takes us to what is a competent court. Section 2BB of the Indian Succession Act defines a district court, district judge as a judge of principal civil court of original jurisdiction. However, Section 300 of the Indian Succession Act gives concurrent jurisdiction of the High Court in exercise of all powers of the district judge. But Section 300, subsection 2, accepts only the High Courts of Calcutta, Madras, and Bombay to have concurrent jurisdiction. And in respect of other courts, the state government concerned will have to officially notify in the Gazette bestowing concurrent jurisdiction. As of now, so far as Madras is concerned, the High Court has concurrent jurisdiction. You can file the application before the High Court. Insofar as the Madras Order 25, then as you see, as we all know, the original side rules is in place insofar as the Madras High Court is concerned. So Order 25, the original side rules, deals with matters of probate, letters of administration, succession certificates, both testamentary and intestate matters. Forms of petitions, probate, and letters of administration, succession certificate are provided as annexures in the original side rules itself. The form for probate is form number 55. For letters of administration is 58 and 59. It's available in Appendix 2 to the rules. What is the effect of a probate? A probate is a judgment in rem. So it not only binds the parties to the proceedings, but it is binding against the entire world. So it is a judgment in rem. You may have heard of words common form and solemn form. What are they? See, in England, there is a practice of granting probate in the absence of interested parties. Straight away, on an application by the legatee or the executor, the grant is given. That form is called a common form. But the Indian law does not recognize such a form because the court applies its mind, and now interested parties will have to be given notice, and only after hearing them, the court is going to grant you an order of probate or a letter of administration. Therefore, it is only a solemn form insofar as Indian courts are concerned. Then, is there limitation? It's a very interesting question which has arisen after 2008. In 1991, the Madras High Court held that AR 1991 Madras page 214. Probate is it's a continuous cause of action, and there is no declaration of right sought for. Therefore, there is no limitation for filing of a probate application. But if you see Order 25 of the OS rules, Rule 9 contemplates that a person should set out reasons for the delay if it is beyond 3 years from the date of demise of the testator. But in 2008, in Kunwarjit Singh's case, reported in 2008, 8 Supreme Court cases, page 463, the Supreme Court held Article 137 would apply to probate proceedings also, which means it will be 3 years from the date on which the right to apply accrues. So therefore, they even referred to even the Madras Judgment 1991, and therefore, in view of the categorical pronouncement of the Apex Court, we cannot say that the 1991 Madras view can be pressed into service. But interestingly, division bench of our High Court in Matsala versus K.S. Mohan, reported in 2016, volume 1 CTC, page 257. 2016, volume 1 CTC 257, where the division bench took into consideration the Constitution Bench judgment in Santappan versus Andhra Bank, which is reported in 2005, 1 MLJ page 105, 2005, 1 MLJ page 105. They held that Article 137 will not apply to Order 25 of the original side rules. And consequently, if I may be permitted to say that the Madras view 1991 has been restored. So that is insofar as limitation. Then comes the question of court fees and probate duty. We all know a lot of people avoided wills for the only reason that it was very prohibitive. You had to pay 3% of the market value of the estate, the entire estate, for probate. The court fee was only 20 rupees, but probate duty was 3% of the entire estate, and it was subject to scrutiny by the collector's office. You will have to give a valuation form which you go to the collector. Collector will see whether you valued it correctly. The undervaluation, you will be called upon to pay the difference in stamp duty, the probate duty. So therefore, that was a problem. But with the amendment Act 6 of 2017, thanks to Honorable Justice Sampath, as he then was, he recommended for reduction of the court fees, and now it is an ad valorem court fee of 25,000 insofar as petitions for probate and letters of administration. So for a succession certificate, you still have to pay the 3%, but insofar as letters of administration with or without wills and probates, the fixed court, no court fee, it is called court fee. Fixed court fee of 25,000 will have to be paid. In case the will is contested and it becomes a testamentary original suit, then because it becomes a suit, the plaintiff will have to pay court fee. Court fee is on 1/2 of the value of the estate. So suppose the value is 50 lakhs, you will have to pay the court fee on 25 lakhs, which will be about roughly 30,000 rupees. First 1 lakh is 4,525, and the remaining is 1% as far as the High Court is concerned. This is insofar as court fee. Then proceedings can be classified as non-contentious and contentious. Non-contentious proceedings are where there is no contest. The legal heirs either stay away in spite of notice from the court or give their consent affidavits. These proceedings are called non-contentious proceedings. The court will require you to, in case of probate, you will have to examine one of the attesting witnesses to prove the will, prove the demise of the testator. Once these are done and show that none of the heirs are contesting or objecting, mark their consent affidavits. And in case of letters of administration, additionally, you will have to file paper publications. If all this process is completed, you will get a probate or letters of administration. Letters of administration can be filed only by the beneficiary. Third party cannot file. Once there is no executor, beneficiary under the will must have to take up the responsibility of approaching the court and seeking for letters of administration with the will. And in so far as the letters of administration, as I told you, there will be a publication apart from court notice board. There is an additional requirement of a paper publication in 2 leading newspapers in circulation in the city of Madras. And if the testator was a resident of some other district, in that district also, with an interval of 1 week, there has to be an English publication and a Tamil publication in Tamil vernacular and English language, inviting for objections, fixing a date of hearing before the learned master. So it is just putting on the public on notice that so and so will is being probated. If there is any objection, you please come and file. Then this takes us to contentious proceedings. The order 25 rules 51 to 57 of the original side rules deal with contentious proceedings. Suppose one of the legal heirs doubts the genuineness of the will, or he has another will, or discovered a codicil which takes away the original rights bestowed under the original will, then he has the right to object to the grant. So he has to file a caveat in Form 69. This is not a regular caveat which we file under the CPC. It is a special caveat which is filed under the original side rules, Form 69, which is available. It is valid for a period of 6 months, unlike a regular caveat which is valid only for 90 days. That is, and it is not enough if he merely files a caveat. He has to file an affidavit in support of the caveat, stating his right and what his objections are. It need not be very detailed, at least broadly setting out why he is objecting to the grant. This affidavit has to be filed within 8 days from the date of caveat. Normally, we file it on the same day, avoid missing filing of the affidavit later. The affidavit of objection is filed along with the caveat. Therefore, there is no, you don't miss the requirement later on. But now the question of delay arose. Judgment of our High Court in Sivaswamy versus Soundarammal reported in 2008 6MLJ, page 898. 2008 6MLJ, page 898, our Honorable Court said delay in filing the objection affidavit can be condoned. Another important thing you can remember is a caveat can be filed any time before the grant. It is not necessary that the caveat should be filed before the OP is numbered. It can be filed even any time before the grant. The day on which the order is going to be passed, previous day, the caveat can be filed. If the caveat is filed after initiation of the probate proceedings or the LA proceedings, then the requirement of affidavit of objections comes into play. If suppose your caveat is filed even before the OP is filed, you need not file the affidavit of objections. This is Rule 52 of the original set rules. The concept of caveatable interest. This concept is not defined in the Indian Succession Act, but it is more culled out from various judicial pronouncements. So, locus standi to file a caveat is what we term as caveatable interest. The courts have interpreted both ways, and in fact, in judgment reported in 2010, 5 Supreme Court cases, page 157, Jagjit Singh, Pamela versus Manmohan Singh, the matter has been decided, has been referred to a larger bench to decide the point as to what constitutes caveatable interest. The Supreme Court itself has taken divergent views, so the matter has been referred to a larger bench. But there can be no second opinion on the fact that a direct heir has a caveatable interest. The test here is if that person, but for the will, gets a right, maybe a fraction of a right in the property, then he is a person who has a caveatable interest. This is a simple test. Problems will arise where a mortgagee or a tenant or a purchaser or an agreement holder claim to be having caveatable interest. Those cases will have to be dealt separately. We'll have to await the outcome of the decision of the larger bench. In fact, in 2008, 10 Supreme Court cases, page 489, a case which went from the Madras High Court, Gopal versus Bhaskar, the Supreme Court said, person should not set up title in himself. So that is fundamental. You have to claim under the estate of the testator. You can't say, I am the owner and you don't have a caveatable interest. You will have to say, I am so and so, I am related to so and so. Grandchildren were entitled to have caveatable interest in that case. In 2008, NACC 489. Even though there were not direct heirs. The grandchildren, Supreme Court said, you have a caveatable interest. Supporting affidavit, as I told you, should be filed within 8 days and can be filed anytime before the grant. Once a caveat and the required affidavit of objections are filed, the original petition is converted as a testamentary original suit, where the plaintiff becomes the petitioner becomes the plaintiff and the caveator becomes the defendant. The other legal heirs who have not chosen to file a caveat, they may be respondents to the OP, but they will not become defendants. So if you want to contest the will, you will have to mandatorily satisfy the requirement of filing a caveat and the affidavit of objections within 8 days from the date of caveat, and only then you will be cited as a defendant in the testamentary original suit. The other respondents will lose the right of audience. The defendant will have a right to file a written statement, and it is like a regular suit. Proceedings will follow. The initial burden is always on the plaintiff to prove due execution of the will and dispel any suspicious circumstances that may be raised by the defendant by way of the written statement. However, when the plea of fraud, coercion, or forgery is taken, it is for the person who asserts or makes such allegation to establish such claims of fraud, forgery, and undue influence. Will has to be required to be proved in terms of section 68 to 71 of the Indian Evidence Act of 1872. So one of the attesting witnesses will have to be, at least one of the attesting witnesses will have to be examined to satisfy the requirement of section 63 of the Indian Succession Act. And regarding due execution and mental capacity, this is very important. So not only he must say, I saw the testator sign, I signed in his presence, and in the presence of the other attesting witness, he was in a proper frame of mind, he was mentally sound. This is where I told you, if there is something which will flash in your mind, something out of the box, something is discussed, it will definitely flash in the mind of the attesting witness 10 years later, 15 years later, he will be able to support the will. So here again, a very interesting question crops up. Through whom has the will to be marked. The propounder is not a party. The executor or the beneficiary may not be a witness. He is not a witness. He is not a party to the execution. So therefore, their one school of thought is will can be marked only through the attesting witnesses. Here in the Madras High Court, as a matter of custom, we have been marking wills through the propounder. In fact, in one case where I had an occasion to appear for the plaintiff and I attempted to mark the will through the propounder, the counsel for the defendant, I think, took objections, KV Babu took objections to it, and the matter was referred from the master back to the learned single judge. It was argued, and learned single judge said you can mark the will through the propounder. Went on voice appeal. Voice appeal also, you see, the learned single judge order was confirmed. The judgment reported in 2016, 4 Law Weekly, page 646. Karthik Mayappan versus Sudha Devi. 2016, 4 Law Weekly, 646. In fact, the matter was taken up to Supreme Court by way of SLP, and SLP was dismissed. So, after this judgment, my view of the matter is there is no harm in permitting the propounder to mark the will for more than one reason. See, the propounder is the person who produces the original will before the court. In fact, in the Madras High Court original side, the moment original will is filed, it is given Exhibit A. It is already marked. And he is the person, it comes from lawful custody because he is either the executor or the beneficiary. It comes from lawful custody and it is marked even at the time of the initiation of the proceedings for probate or letters of administration. Therefore, there is no harm. And secondly, when does a will take effect? As we all know, will is a mere piece of paper and it becomes a document which is a legal document only after the demise, on the demise of the testator. Who is the person who is going to prove the demise? It is going to be the propounder. The attesting witnesses may not even know that the testator died. So it is therefore the propounder who will have to first get into the box, file the death certificate first, not even the will, death certificate first to show that the testator is no more. Only then the will gets a legal status. So Exhibit P1, in my opinion, should always be the death certificate, and the will follow suit, Exhibit P2. Therefore, there is absolutely no harm in marking, allowing the will to be marked through the propounder, is my view. Of course, there is no embargo that the will should be marked, should not be marked to the attesting witness. In fact, Bombay view is that is what relied upon by Mr. Babu. The Bombay judgment, Justice G.S. Patel had relied upon, had decided the matter where he said should be marked only through the attesting witness. But now our High Court Division Bench has taken a contra view, and therefore now it can be marked either through the propounder or through the attesting witness. What happens if the attesting witness is not alive or found? Section 69 of the Evidence Act. How it should be proved? A proof of attestation should be given that the attestation of one of the witnesses is in his handwriting, and also put within quotes, and the signature of the person executing the document, that is the testator, was also in his handwriting. I've seen a number of cases where people just examine somebody known to the attesting witness. The signature of the testator stands not proved. That is one factor which has to be proved. You will have, it is twofold. When the attesting witnesses are not alive or not found, you make your best efforts, satisfy the court that they are either dead or they are not found in spite of diligent search. Then you examine somebody to prove the signature of one of the attesting witnesses, his son, daughter, wife, or employee, somebody who speaks about the signature of the attesting witness, and somebody to speak about the signature of the testator also. It is mandatory. For satisfying one part is not sufficient. That is section 69. There are cases where the attesting witnesses turn hostile. They go against due execution. They say it is not duly executed. Law still provides remedy for the propounder, section 71. Under section 71 of the Indian Evidence Act, proof can be permitted by other evidence. You can still prove the will, dehorse the attesting witness turning hostile. Then section 90, whether it is applicable to wills. In fact, you may have stumbled upon a beautiful article written by Justice G.R. Swaminathan last week after the talk by Justice Nagamuthu, where he has discussed this issue. And even though the latest view of the Supreme Court is section 90 is not applicable to wills, Justice G.R. Swaminathan has relied upon an earlier judgment of 3 judges in KV Subbaraju versus C. Subbaraju in AR 1968 Supreme Court, page 947. The 3-judge bench. So judicial propriety requires that is followed. But subsequent 2-judge benches of the Supreme Court have not noticed the ratio laid down in Subbaraju's case. And in 2009, 3 SCC page 687 in Barpur Singh's case, and Ramesh versus Veeraji's case in 2013, 7 SCC 490, they have said it is not an ancient document. Will has to be proved only in terms of section 68, and section 90 will not apply. And concluding his article, Justice Swaminathan has said it is desirable that the Supreme Court clarifies the position at the earliest to avoid any confusion, especially for the lower judiciary. They will be caught in a catch-22 situation as to which judgment they should follow. Cases where probate may not be mandatory. So we saw cases where probate is a must. Chennai, Madras, Calcutta, and Bombay. In other cases, though probate or letters of administration is not mandatory, circumstances may warrant proof of the will. Suppose it is a partition suit. A sister files a suit for partition against a brother. The brother has in his possession a will written by the father. So he can mark the will. Probate is not required as long as it doesn't fall under section 57 and 2 and 3. But he is required to prove in the same manner which we have just seen. If he proves, that will be his defense. The partition suit will be dismissed. And these are cases where, even though probate or letters of administration need not be obtained, wills may still have to be proved before a court of law. Then revocation of grant. Coming to revocation of grant, section 263. What happens after the grant? Once the grant is made, it takes effect. The testator wishes these are things to be done. The executor or the legatee ensures that the intentions of the testator are fulfilled. The court, time again, in scrutinizing wills, very popular phrase which you may have definitely heard, sit in the armchair of the testator. You don't view the matter as a judge. You don't view the matter as an independent third party. You put yourself in the armchair of the testator and see, in these circumstances, what has he done? Is it correct? Then you give grant probate. There is no suspicion, dispel suspicion, grant probate. So sit in the armchair of the testator and decide. This is what the High Court judges normally say. So this, therefore, but what happens? There are cases where will has to be revoked. Section 263 of the Indian Succession Act provides for revocation of wills. There's an explanation which gives 5 instances where probate has to be annulled or revoked. They are where the grant was obtained fraudulently by making a false suggestion or concealing from the court something material to the case, or grant was obtained by means of an untrue allegation of fact, essential in law to justify the grant, though such allegation was made in ignorance or inadvertently. The grant has become useless and inoperative through circumstances. The person to whom the grant was made has willfully and without reasonable cause omitted to exhibit an inventory or account in accordance with Chapter 7, or exhibited an inventory or account which is untrue in a material aspect. Well, this Chapter 7, after grant, the executor also and the legatee, if it is a case of a letters of administration, they will have to file an inventory account within 6 months and 1 year respectively to say that the wishes of the testator have been fulfilled, in what manner the bequests have been carried out. It has to be filed, only then the process is complete. A lot of advocates, we miss filing the inventory account, it is mandatory. The filing of inventory accounts is a ground for revocation. Therefore, it has serious consequences. So, but now the courts have now settled the law that these illustrations are only illustrative, not exhaustive. So, it is not necessary that you should come under one of these 5 illustrations. If you are able to still make out a just cause for revocation, you can have the grant annulled. So here again an interesting question comes up. A person who was chased out of court saying that you do not have claimable interest, does he get a right to file a petition for revocation? Yes. The answer is yes. Supreme Court says just because he did not have a claimable interest, he can still be entitled to file an application for revocation under section 263 after the grant. So what is important is a just cause. And here again, limitation. This recent judgment in so the Supreme Court in 2017, AR 2017 Supreme Court, page 5453. Also reported in 2018, volume 6 CTC, page 341. In Lynette Fernandez case, the Supreme Court said, even for revocation, Article 137 will apply. But again, we will have to go by the division bench judgment of the Madras High Court, which has gone into the aspect of the applicability to original side rules, specific reference. Therefore, we can safely follow that. Therefore, even for revocation, there will be no limitation. But the courts have consistently held that when you approach the court for revoking a grant already made, it cannot be given for the mere asking. There must be a strong circumstance of fraud or some concealment from the court, or there is another will brought to light which takes away the effect of the first will. There has to be very strong circumstances to fall within the definition phrase just cause. It is not sufficient cause we see in say Order 9, Rule 13 CPC. There is something more. So the requirement of just cause, the strong evidence has to be let in prima facie. It's not necessary that it should be straight away delegated to a trial. The application for revocation, the Supreme Court has again held, the application for revocation will be decided whether a case has been made out for revoking the grant should be seen first. If the court finds there is a just cause, a person interested has not been impleaded, it is effective, proceeding is effective. Or there is another will discovered, your first will has no effect. These are circumstances where the first will has to necessarily go. Then what will happen is the grant will be revoked. The petitioner will be called upon to submit the original grant back to the court, file it in the court, and if the situation warrants, it will be proved afresh in the presence of the person seeking annulment. This is the procedure with regard to revocation. But the judgment where I told you where absence of capable interest does not affect judgment is in Krishna Kumar Birla versus Rajendra Singh Lodha, 2008, volume 4 Supreme Court cases, page 300. Also reported in 2008, volume 3 CTC, page 43. KK Birla versus Rajendra Singh Lodha, where the Supreme Court said mere absence of capable interest does not affect a person to bring an application for revocation. This sums up the manner in which the wills have to be drafted, executed, the process of probate and revocation. I'll give you some important judgments which are lead judgments which have been time and again relied upon by subsequent judgments, latest judgments, even up to date. So these are some of the judgments which you may kind of note for future reference. In Moti Bai versus Haramji's case, earliest case in 1924, Privy Council, page 28, AR 1924, Privy Council, page 28. The Privy Council, I love this sentence. A man may act foolishly and even heartlessly, but if he acts with full comprehension of what he is doing, the court will not interfere with the exercise of his volition. This is a very beautiful sentence captured very well by the Privy Council. A man may even act foolishly or heartlessly because he is going to deprive his wife or son or daughter. He may give to a stranger on the road. He may act heartlessly, but still, if he does the act with full comprehension of knowing the consequences of what he is doing, the court should not interfere. It should grant probate. Then, 1955 Supreme Court, page 363. Naresh Charandas Gupta versus Paresh Charandas Gupta. Burden of proof of will is initially on the propounder and it shifts to the person alleging undue influence, coercion or fraud. The initial burden is always on the propounder and he has to dispel any suspicious circumstances. Then Venkatachal versus Timmajamma. The no case is complete without reference to this judgment of 3 judges of the Honorable Supreme Court, reported in AR 1959 Supreme Court, page 443, where Justice Gajendra Gadkar, speaking for the court, observed that in discovering the truth in such cases, the judicial mind must always be open, though vigilant, cautious, and circumspect. In this case, all aspects regarding the proof of will, duty of the court, suspicious circumstances have been dealt with, and it is one of the classic judgments which you will find pertaining to wills. Then 1973, then stopping here for a moment, suspicious circumstances. Here again, you may ask me what are suspicious circumstances which will entitle a defendant to succeed. The suspicious circumstance again will depend on facts of each case. What is a suspicious circumstance may not be a suspicious circumstance in another case. Suppose there is a difference in signature or hospitalization, the execution was the hospital ICU. These will throw suspicion, but doesn't straight away negative the will, the genuineness of the will. Well, the rule is uphold the genuineness of the will. The exception is only to refuse grant because you are honoring the wishes of a person who is not alive. So therefore, if it is genuinely it is his will, the court should go no length and to ensure that his wishes are honored, probate should be granted. But if really suspicious circumstances are made out, like say the active participation of the propounder or the attesting witnesses, the stage manager will, or difference in signatures, these are all suspicious circumstances which will vary from facts of each case. Therefore, any suspicious circumstance will have to be dispelled by the plaintiff before the burden of proof changes. An illiterate person also can write a will. Supreme Court judgment 1973, volume 3, Supreme Court cases, page 384. In Chamanlal versus Ram Kathori, 1973, volume 3, Supreme Court cases, page 384. Then suspicious circumstances have been elaborately discussed in 1982, volume 1, Supreme Court cases, page 20. Then in Gardial Kaur versus Kartar Kaur, 1998, 4 Supreme Court cases, page 384, the Supreme Court has said conscience of the court has to be satisfied before grant of probate. And coming back home, our division bench in Kora Venkatachala Chetty versus Janaki Raman, reported in 2001, volume 3, CTC, page 283. They have dealt with the duty of the probate court. Again, a beautiful passage in the judgment where the judges say the testamentary court is a court of conscience and not a court of suspicion. So don't suspect a person coming to court for probate of a will. You're a court of conscience. That is why you sit in the armchair of the testator and see whether the bequests are natural or unnatural. And the caution should be exercised in a proper manner and should not be allowed to be exploited by unscrupulous caveaters who choose to call out imaginary suspicion. So this is the division bench of our High Court. And again, 2002, volume 2, Supreme Court cases, page 85. Madhukar versus Tarabai, Shedeke, where mere conjectures or unfounded suspicion should not be allowed. Then 2004, volume 2, Supreme Court cases, page 321. General principles of interpretation of wills have been restated by the Honorable Supreme Court. In 2004, 2 Supreme Court cases, page 320, Umadevi Nambiar versus T. Siddhan and others. And in Daulat Ram and others, Soda and others, 2004, 5 CTC, page 790. 2004, volume 5 CTC, page 790. Proof of will only by primary evidence, unless the court permits proof by secondary evidence. Therefore, the original will necessarily has to be filed unless the court permits. Or there are provisions which I told you, a copy of last will or a draft can be obtained subject to the court's sanction. Then in Daulat Ram and others, that is the case. Daulat Ram, 2004, 5 CTC, page 790. Proof of will by primary evidence unless court permits secondary evidence. Then the last one would be Pentakola Satyanarayana versus Pentakota Sitaratnam. In 2005, 8 Supreme Court cases, page 67. Supreme Court has reiterated the law. Every circumstance is not a suspicious circumstance. As I told you, these are only some of the judgments which are leading case laws on wills. Even up to date, the High Courts and the Supreme Court have fallen back on these cases to decide. But you may stumble upon hundreds of cases which may fit your requirement, in your, especially with regard to undue influence, forgery, or age of the testator, all these factors. You may have direct cases on the point, but these are fundamentally the very important judgments. So I would like to sum up. Wills is one of the most interesting subjects which a lawyer will come across. And in my personal experience, I would only conclude, will is a trial lawyer's delight. Thank you very much. If you have any doubts, I will check the chat box.
Hello.
Yes.
Hello. Hello.
Yes, please tell me that. Yes, please.
Sir, can you hear me, sir?
Yes, I am able to hear you. I am able to hear you. Please go on.
Sir, very good evening. Please accept
Yes,
our humble appreciation for a wonderful session, sir.
thank you very much.
The
Thank you,
way
thank
in
you very
which you had handled even the complicated subject, you had put it in such a simple language, deserves a special mention, sir.
Thank you so much.
Sir, in fact, I have two
Have any
questions.
questions?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sure.
So, one is with respect to, as you know, Registration Act Section 51, there is a mention about Book 5,
Yeah.
which is nothing but
Yes.
Register of Deposit of Wills.
Yes.
Can you just explain how it practically works, sir?
See, that book 5 registration, you can register a will even after the demise of the testator. The will normally registered by the testator himself, it will be under book 4.
Yes, sir.
There is a provision under the Registration Act where will can be registered even after the demise of the testator. That is book 5.
Sir,
You don't want
practically,
the, yes,
yes, sir. Practically, just to avoid any complication or confusion in the family, can the
yes, exactly.
testator execute a will and
Yes.
put it in a sealed cover and deposit it in the sub-registrar's office
He
during
can
his
do it by
lifetime
himself.
itself?
Yes, he is also able to, he can also do it. Or even after his demise, it can be done.
Oh, wonderful, sir. Sir, my
That
second
is the only
question
object.
is,
Suppose you are at risk of the original will being destroyed by your adversaries.
yes, sir.
So that is the reason why you can choose to deposit the original will with the registrar.
Wonderful, sir. So after the testator's demise, it will be opened up.
Yes, correct.
It will be shown to the
Upon proof of death, upon proof. Yes, upon
Proof
proof
of-
of the death of the testator, you'll have to show the death certificate to the registrar concerned and how you are related, some ration card or Aadhaar card or something, or your capacity. If you have a copy of the will with you, you can show it and say, I am the executor, please hand over the will to me. So once these requirements are satisfied, the original will be handed over.
Great, sir. My second question is about 2 and 3
Yes.
of Indian Succession Act. Sir, as you know,
Yes.
Section 104 says the will takes effect on the death of the testator.
Yes.
As far as 2 and 3 is concerned, it says the will cannot be proved unless it is probated in those 3 specific jurisdictions which you had highlighted.
Correct.
Can we take that as long as a will need not be submitted to a court
Yes.
in these jurisdictions, it still has effects, even though probate is not
Yes,
obtained?
that is my view, sir. That is my view. That is my view. If you, in fact, go to straight away 2 and 3, it only says in a court you can't establish the right as executor or legatee. See, the very object of writing a will, the Supreme Court says you try to see and honor the will, don't dishonor it. So the fact that there is a will and it has not been probated, it will still take effect. But if suppose the matter goes to court, the handicap will be if it is not probated. So my view has always consistently been, even despite the requirement of probate and the will not being probated, will should take effect. Only
Wonderful.
problem is you can't file it as a document before a court of law.
So once a litigation starts based on a will, then the will becomes meaningless without probate,
Yes.
sir.
Correct. Yes, exactly. If it is within the 3 presidency terms.
Perfect, sir. Perfect. Yeah, only these 3 jurisdictions.
Yes.
Thank you, sir.
And
Thank you so
also
much.
likely, I think the central government may remove 2 and 3 very soon. So let's hope it happens soon.
So the next speaker will be Prasanna. Shall I unmute her?
Yes.
Prasanna?
Hello, sir. Very good evening, sir.
Good evening, Prasanna.
Sir, it was really a pleasure to attend your seminar on
Most
this
welcome.
concept. Actually, I practice
Most
in criminal cases, so I have the knowledge of any layman who has something about the will or something. So
I wanted to reach out to youngsters like you. I wanted to reach out to youngsters
Thank
like
you,
you
sir.
to know
Thank
what
you.
is a will, what are the different types of wills. If you know the fundamentals, then it is very easier to go ahead with any case.
Yes, splendid, sir. So I have only 2 doubts that may be
Yes.
very basic, but still that popped out in my mind during the seminar, which I have wrote down. See, first one is
Yes.
you said identifying witness can be an attesting witness. You said no. What is the difference between these people, sir? who's an identifying witness and who's an attesting witness?
Yeah, attesting witness is a person who witnesses the execution of the will.
Attest.
The two witnesses who witness the execution of the will. See, execution and registration may be different. It may not be at the same time. Suppose I might sign the will at my
Okay.
residence. There are two witnesses who attest the will. They are the attesting witnesses. Then I go over to the sub-registrar's office to register the will. Only one attesting witness is able to come there. I catch hold of somebody in the registrar's office to sign before the registrar. He is an identifying witness. The person
Okay.
who signs as attesting witness and also as identifying witness can give evidence, but not the person who signed only before the sub-registrar to complete registration formalities.
Okay, sir. Okay, got it, sir. So the next question is,
Yes.
அது திங்க கேட்கறதுக்கு கூடாதுன்னா உங்க பேசுறதை கேட்கணும். இதுதான் படிக்கணும்னா
Hello,
Yes.
sir.
This is Anand Venkatesh.
Anand Venkatesh, sir.
Bombard me, ready to bombard me.
No, Balaji, it was really, really good. In fact,
Thank you, sir.
it was so simple. See, the greatness of any speech
Sister Violet.
is that it should be kept very simple. The purpose of giving a webinar or a speech is not to show our prowess, but the whole attempt must be to
Reach out.
make people who are listening it to at least learn one or two new things from it. That's the most
Correct.
important aspect of it. Therefore, what is important is now lots of juniors are interested in getting into all this, and they are actively participating in almost all the webinars. Some people
very
call
encouraging.
that-
Very encouraging.
That's right. Some people say that it is being overdone. I don't feel so, because you can choose whatever webinars you want to hear live, and you can always reserve the other webinars for a YouTube listen. So
Links
nothing
are
is a waste.
uploaded.
Nothing is a waste. In fact, since the juniors are listening to this, I just wanted to quote one very important or interesting incident which took place during a trial in a case where the defendant was disputing the will. So what happened was that it was converted into a TOS. So after it was converted into a TOS, the attesting witness, the beneficiary of the will, was in the box. So cross-examination was going on. The reason why I am saying is that see how attentive you should be at the time of trial. You should be sharp like a hawk. You must be watching what is happening. So what happened was that when the chief examination was going on, because at that time it was all chief examination was going on, marking was going on, the senior was continuously looking at what the junior advocate was doing. The junior of the counsel who was representing the plaintiff, the petitioner who was converted into a plaintiff after it became a TOS. So he was watching, and he was basically he was having one paper with him, which was a one-side cost list. So during the earlier period, what we used to do is that we used to take or tear all these one-page cost list, and we used to write notes in that. Many of the pleadings we used to write only in that one-page blank that is available. So he was basically having that in his bundle, and the senior had noticed something in that. So what happened was that he had, in the cross-examination, he had put him a question as to whether any draft was prepared before the will was finalized by the executant of the will. He said yes, a draft was prepared. Do you have a copy of the draft? Was the next question. He said, no, I don't have the copy of the draft. Then the senior had already noticed that the junior of the plaintiff counsel was having it. So he said, no, I saw the junior advocate having it with him in his hand. So immediately the senior, in order to cover the junior, he said, yes, no problem, it is available. He said, can that be marked? He said, I have no objection. So it was marked. Then the senior representing the defendant said, I have no further questions. And ultimately, the TOS was dismissed. Because what had happened is that cost list pertained to a date after the death of the executant of the will. The executant of the will, for example, had died on 1/1/2020. The cost list in which the draft of the will was prepared was in March 2020. So therefore, it becomes very evident that the very bill that was brought before the court was a forged bill, who had no legs to stand. So this is a very interesting incident which I wanted to quote, just to say that the marking a will before a court by itself is an art. Don't take it so simply just like that, because it is clearly confined, or it is clearly bound by Section 63C of the Indian Succession Act and Section 68 to 71 of the Evidence Act, and it has to fulfill all those requirements, failing which a genuine will that has been executed can become a waste paper. It will not be given any effect to. So therefore, I just wanted to put forth this, my views on this. It was very, very useful, Balaji. You are doing a great service. Continue to do this. This is very important.
Thank you. The lighter vein, I was reminded of Justice David Christian. Our notes, our issues, cost list. High Court, you will frame draft issues, you frame it cost list.
Yeah. Sometimes when this cost list was available, I will return some orders in the one-side cost list when I was having it. You will not even believe that I have written some important portions in the judgment with hand. Now in the one-side paper. Thank you, Bala.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you.
We have Dr. Sanjeev Prabhu. I will put you on to Mr. Sanjeev Prabhu.
Good evening, sir.
Yeah, good evening.
So, sir, the attested witness should be aware about the content of the will, sir.
Not necessary, ma'am. Not necessary.
Not necessary.
He may know, not necessary that he should know. He only should be aware of the fact that the man who is executing it was in a sound and disposing state of mind. He had the mental capacity to understand what he is doing. And he signed it in the presence of the witness. He need not know about the contents of the will. He need not speak about the contents of the will also.
Thank you, sir.
So we have Aditya Nayak. I'm sorry, Advocate Inisai.
Hello.
One
Can you
second,
hear me,
madam.
sir?
I am able to hear.
Hello. Good evening, sir.
Yes, sure.
We had a wonderful session today, sir. I have come
Thank you so
across with
much.
the will where it was the schedule of the property was not mentioned in that will, sir. Simply they have given in
Okay.
that எனக்கு சேர வேண்டிய அல்லது எனக்கு சொந்தமான இந்த பொருட்கள் எல்லாமே சோன்சோக்கு நான் வந்து ஒப்படைக்கிறேன் அப்படின்ற மாதிரி ஒரு இது இருந்துச்சு. What is the status of inside will, sir? Without
there is no particular form. Like a sale deed, schedule will there is no particular format. You not necessarily there must be schedule or detailed reference to property. Generalized whatever properties I leave behind, it is a will. So it is for the proponder to establish that these are the properties. Properties all those properties should form part of the affidavit of assets. Along with the petition, you will file affidavit of assets. And the properties value list out. You are entitled to grant of probate. Schedule is not a handicap. It's not fatal.
Okay. Thank you very much, sir.
Sir, we have Monica with us. I will just let her ask. Monica?
Good evening, sir.
Yes, Monica.
So a will is 30-year-old, so like more than 30-year-old, and the executor has also died, I think, 30 years back. Can a will be executed now at such a late
Probate.
Yes,
probated. Yes, there is no limitation. As long as you are able to explain the delay, you can still probate the will.
Okay.
When
All right.
matters are even 37 years after the Supreme Court is upheld, it's a registered will. After 37 years, Supreme Court said no doubt there's a delay, but after all, it's a registered will. Therefore, no harm in
But
accepting the will. Because
this is not a registered will, sir. It is
not
just
necessary.
Okay.
As long as the genuineness is proved, it doesn't matter.
Okay.
The delay has to be explained. It will be one of the
Okay.
suspicious circumstances why
Okay.
there was a delay. If the
Okay.
delay is not fatal, you're able to explain the delay. The time of 30 years is not going to affect your case.
All right. Thank you so much, sir.
So we have Aditya Nayak. I will.
Yes, Aditya.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
Thank you for this
Good evening.
informative session.
Yes, Aditya. Your
Sir,
second session. So,
yes, sir. It was a very good revision, sir.
yeah, tell me.
Sir, one question I had: are digital signatures also valid for a will, or is that not allowed?
As on date, there is no law on that. So, better avoid. We may probably courts in future may accept, but see, this section says your signature or mark or thumb impression. A very
Okay.
interesting question. So, as long as you are able to establish that it is your mark, your digital signature is your mark. If you are able to establish, probably the courts will uphold.
Because the IT Act provides
the
for.
requirement.
Yes, sir.
Yes, we have not had cases. We have not had cases so far, but it is probably worth a try. But if you are going to execute a will, better avoid. Why land into uncharted territory?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So we have Vijay Anand with us.
Yes.
Shall I put you on?
Good evening, sir. My doubt is
Yes, good
regarding the doubt clearance which you made just now regarding the delay, which
Delay.
advocate asked you. 30 years, you said if we are having a reason behind the delay, if it is the monetary terms or the inadequate money in regards
Yes.
with the payment of the duty of 3%, now it has been reduced to a maximum limit of 25. But whereas had it
25,000.
before, and the reason is
3%.
inadequate of monetary terms. So how would that? How will
Yes.
the court see on that?
This is ultimately a decision of the court. Court may still condone the delay. See, as I told you, it's not a question of limitation. The requirement
I
of
make a
Article 25
line.
Rule 9 is only you explain the delay. It is mandatory for the petitioner to explain the delay. So if there, as long as there is some justifiable reason, court will definitely. If I have filed OPs where this is the reason given, where party could
Yes.
not muster up 3%, we had to go
Yes.
after 5 years, go to the court. This is the reason I
Yes.
have given in many cases, and court has accepted.
Then okay, sir. Thank you. Thank you very much.
We have R.
Good evening, sir. This is
Good
Rekha
evening.
from Chennai. This was a wonderful
Yes.
session. Thank you so much, sir. So I have a
Welcome,
question.
welcome.
I came across a will where
Yes.
the husband and wife is living in Singapore, and
Okay.
they have property in Singapore and as well as in Chennai. So they wanted to.
Okay.
They have written a will on how do I probate a will which is in Chennai, or I have to. How do I?
Property is in Chennai. Property is in
deal
Chennai.
with
You
that?
have to probate. See,
No,
normally
sir.
you have to
They
see
have
whether the
property in
country.
Singapore.
Yes, has the will been probated in Singapore?
I am no, sir, not yet, sir. How do I deal with it, sir? So I have to do it separately in Singapore.
Then you have to probate it here. Then yes, see, normally if it's already probated in a foreign country,
Okay,
if
sir.
one of the properties is in Madras, if one of the properties happens to be in Madras or Bombay or Calcutta, you will have to file letters of administration with a certified copy of the will. Original will be in Singapore, so they may not. That court may not part with it. So you file a certified copy of the will from the Singapore court and seek for letters of administration here, limited to the Indian.
Okay, sir. So I have to do it there first and bring that.
Yes, you have to. You have to. Yes, it's mandatory. It's mandatory.
Okay.
Merely because it is executed outside or it is probated in a foreign country, you cannot avoid. If the property is in Madras, you have to probate it. Or if it is already probated in Singapore, letters of administration will have to be obtained.
So which means if
You need not. Suppose the will has been executed in Singapore. Suppose the will
Yes,
has
sir.
been executed in Singapore.
Yes,
you
sir.
can dispense with the evidence of the attesting witnesses because already a court competent jurisdiction has granted probate. Then
So
you need
even
not
if
examine the attesting witness. Suppose there it is not
okay.
for the first time, if you are probating, you will have to bring the witness from Singapore.
Oh, okay, sir. So I have to do it in there, file it, and then bring that document here and probate.
It's
Right,
easier.
sir?
It's easier. If you do it in the foreign country, it's easier. Procedure is
Okay.
easier. Otherwise, it's very difficult to bring the attesting witness all the way from
Okay.
US and just for examining him. It's very difficult.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much.
Welcome.
Good afternoon, Balaji. This is Aruna Ganesh. This was a very
Good afternoon,
riveting
madam.
question. Hello?
Thank you, madam. Thank you, Choluma.
Balaji, வந்து joint wills
Yes.
பத்தி ஒரு ஏதாவது சொல்லுங்களேன். Joint wills, husband and wife. அப்புறம் அந்த conditional will அதுல பத்தி elaborate பண்ணுங்களேன்.
Joint will both should sign the same document. It will refer to both their properties. A and B, husband and wife வச்சுக்கோங்க. A and B can execute a joint.
I came across a will where the husband has put in a condition that the wife will assign her properties to a particular person and enjoy the benefits of his will if she acts in a particular manner. அது condition and joint அப்போ வந்து எப்படி நடக்கும் அந்த how does
பரவாயில்லை jointனா பரவாயில்லை because the wife is also signatory to that will, so she is also accepting the conditions in the will. The problem will arise if the wife is not signatory to the will. So once you give a benefit to somebody, you of course will illa conditions irukkalame thappu illa.
Okay, Balaji.
Will can be conditional.
Okay, thank you so much.
Sir, there are a few questions in the group.
Yes.
I'm sorry, there's Vijay Anand as well who's wanting to ask another question.
Sir, sorry to again ask one more, but in between you had told me that the will is actually marked as A. Annexure A that's how we mark it. A. Outside we make sure in A.
And even when you file it,
yes,
it's exhibited when you file the OP.
Yes, sir. You said in between about death certificate to have been the death certificate of the testator.
Yes.
Was that your opinion or
death? Unless you prove the death.
Yes.
No, it's my opinion. Unless the death is proved, the will does not come into existence.
Yes.
The will does not take effect.
Yes.
Legally. Therefore, first you have to establish the person who wrote the will is no more. So therefore, my opinion is you always mark the death certificate better, desirable.
Better.
No hard and fast rule. You can mark the will as P1. No hard and fast.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. I just wanted to get clarity on that. I just wanted to know if it was your opinion or.
No, my opinion. My personal opinion.
Okay, sir. Thank you very much. Thank you.
So we have Anand Venkatesan from E-Road who wants to put a question.
Yes, sir. Sir, ரொம்ப ரொம்ப நன்றி சார். உங்களுடைய அருமையான ஸ்பீச் லாயர் பட் அட்வொகேட்ஸ்க்கு ரொம்ப யூஸ்ஃபுல்லா இருக்கு சார் எங்களுக்கு.
Thank you.
Sir, actually, one A has executed a will by giving enjoyment right to his grandchildren to his sons.
Sure.
Then subsequently, after their enjoyment right, it will goes to their children, grandchildren's children.
அது இருக்கு சார். ரூல் இன் பர்பெச்சுவிட்டி இந்தியன் சக்சஷன் ஆக்ட்லயே இருக்கு. பண்ண முடியாதுன்னு. ரீசனபிள் எக்ஸ்டென்ட்க்கு தான் நீங்க போஸ்ட்போன் பண்ணலாம் என்ஜாய்மென்ட். ரூல் இன் பர்பெச்சுவிட்டின்னு ஒரு செக்ஷன் இருக்கு இந்தியன் சக்சஷன் ஆக்ட்ல. கடைசி பெனிஃபிஷியரி 18 years ஆறதுக்குள்ள if the property because does not take effect, it can be ignored. Rule in perpetuity in Indian succession act la பாருங்க கிடைக்கும். It is not permitted. நீங்க சொல்ற மாதிரி பண்ணாக்க இக்னோர் பண்ணலாம். It is not permitted. It is not valid. It is not a valid bequest.
Okay, sir.
Goes against the rule in perpetuity.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
We have Epsiba madam would like to.
Yes.
Sir. Hello.
Hello, madam. Good evening.
Sir, explain about domicile, sir. Domicile under the. Yeah.
Domicile, place of residence. அதெல்லாம் 57ல வந்துருவேன். 21357ல person may be domiciled in India. He can write a will in respect of properties in India. He may be domiciled in America. He can still write a will for Indian properties.
Okay.
So domicile is only place of residence. அது ஒன்றும் இப்போ பெரிய relevance கிடையாது. Because you can write a will anywhere, you can still give effect to the will in another country also.
Okay, okay. Mutual wills, regarding mutual wills.
Mutual wills na அப்ப நான் உங்களுக்கு தரேன், நீங்க எனக்கு தரீங்க. This is mutual will.
Is
So
there
I
any?
write a will giving my property to Madi. You write a will giving the property to Madi writes a will giving the property to Balaji. This is a mutual will.
Okay, sir. Okay. So there is no any. Is there any restriction between the relationship for executing?
No, not necessary. Mutual wills need not be amongst legal heirs. You are third parties கூட இருக்கலாம்.
Okay, okay. Thank you, sir. Okay. Bye, sir. Super, sir.
We have Prasanna Durai Shruti Karungai who asked a question.
Sir.
Yes.
Shruti?
Hello.
Yes, good
Sir.
evening, madam.
Hello. Sir, am I audible?
Yeah, I'm audible. Tell me.
Sir. Sir, the will was executed in the year 1978. The testator passed away in 2010, and the will was discovered in 2019. The attest witnesses are not known. Now, how to prove the will, sir? And the family members of the testator have divided the property among themselves.
Already.
Now the attesting witnesses are not known. They're not known at all to the legatee.
That you have to prove to the court that we are not able to find out the whereabouts. We are not able to find out the existence of the attesting witnesses. Therefore, you still have to prove the will by examining somebody to speak about the attesting witness. So that is why I said custody of the will is very important. If you are not able to discover the will in reasonable time, you are virtually losing the benefit of the will. You already said the property has already been divided. So better not to probate the will. Continue enjoying as they have divided amongst the family. So it will be very difficult to probate this will because the witnesses are not alive or not known to you. You cannot prove the signature of one of the attesting witnesses as required by the law. Therefore, you will be able to satisfy only one part, namely the signature of the testator. You are not entitled to probate. Therefore, better to go ahead with whatever division you have already made. That is a suggestion you should give to your client.
Sir, we have Vasugi S who would want to ask you a question.
Yes.
Sir, good evening, sir.
Good evening.
Sir, you explained very well, sir. We are very satisfied. But we are expecting Tamil also, sir. All of the.
Yes.
Madam, could you be a little more louder?
Yes, I prepared a note. I will probably circulate it in WhatsApp probably later tonight.
Okay. Some judgment.
Yes, all the judgments, and I prepared a note on the subject which I have elaborated on. So.
And one more requisition, sir.
Yes.
Indian Succession Act possibility irundha innor naal edutha nalla irukku, sir.
Okay.
Thank you, madam.
Okay.
Advocate Venkatesan would like to ask you a question, sir. Thank you.
Yes.
Yes. Sir?
Yes, please.
Venkatesan, sir? I think he's not online. Sir, Shivakumar sir would like to pose the question.
Yes.
Hello, Balaji.
Good evening.
Yes, Balaji. Good evening, Balaji. Thanks for the wonderful lecture.
Oh, thank you.
I have few questions to ask you, Balaji.
Yes.
Balaji, as advocates, do we need to give counseling before preparing a will?
Better. Na chonna na advise the client pros and cons.
Pros and cons, sir.
Then he may decide to not write a will also. Suppose he wants to give it immediately. He does not want to postpone. He may choose to do a settlement. Or if he wants to secure the property for his hospital expenses, he would like to write a will. So you tell him what are the advantages, disadvantages, you advise him, then they let him take a call. Ultimately, it is a call of the client. You will go by what he says. But advise him, counseling is good, better, in my opinion.
Yes. Bro, you might be remembering actor Thangaveli's case.
Yes.
Please explain, Balaji. Ellarkavum and Thangavelu case ennachu konjam sollu. Thangavelu. Actor Thangavelu. Actor Thangavelu two daughters. Two daughterல வளர்மதி அப்புறம் இன்னொரு டாக்டர் அவர் என்ன பண்ணாரு, தங்கவேலு ஒரு சன்-இன்-லா வந்து ரொம்ப பேட்னு சொல்லிட்டு என்ன பண்ணாரு, எல்டர் சன்-இன்-லாக்கு மட்டும் ப்ராப்பர்ட்டி நம்ம ஆப்ஷன் தான் எழுதணும். எல்டர் சன்-இன்-லாக்கு மட்டும் எழுதினாரு, எல்டர் டாட்டருக்கு மட்டும் எழுதினாரு. சோ யங் சன்-இன்-லா என்ன பண்ணிட்டான், ப்ராப்பர்ட்டி தனக்கு கிடைக்கலன்னு சொல்லிட்டு எல்டர் சன்-இன்-லாவை மர்டர் பண்ணிட்டான். அதுதான் அதுதான் அப்பப்போ அடிக்கடியே சொல்லுவாரு, இந்த கேஸ பத்தி சொல்லுவாரு, எல்லாருக்குமே ஈக்குவலா கொடுக்கணும் அப்படின்னு சொல்லுவாரு. அப்புறம் பாலாஜி, when the first will is executed and registered and the same is cancelled, does it require registration? Cancellation doesn't require registration.
Does not require, but advisable. See, again, it will throw suspicion. When you have chosen to register the will, why don't you register the cancellation or the subsequent will? Question. Therefore, if it is not mandatory, even you can write in a piece of paper saying that I have cancelled my will, registered will dated so and so. If it is attested by 2 witnesses, it is a proper cancellation.
Yes.
Not necessary in law, but advisable to follow the same procedure. If you have registered, you register this also.
Yes, Balaji.
Or give reasons why you are not registering. Suppose because you are not able to go to sub-registrar's office, ill health, you can set out the reason and say why I am not registering the cancellation.
Next question, Balaji. When the first will is registered and cancelled, whether the second will should also be registered or mere unregistered will is
unregistered will is also good enough.
Good enough.
Okay. See, second will is execution of second will itself cancels the first will. So therefore, not necessary to separately cancel the first will. Once you execute a second will, another it's called last will and testament.
Okay, right.
We have Vijay Anand sir who wants to post a question.
Sorry, I'm keep on coming back. So the asapodumbodu oru doubt varudhu. So in between, I told when the executor is the one who files the petition, the executor dies. Thereafter, the beneficiary of the will steps into his shoes. In that case, I felt like you told the petition will turn into letters of administration. Am I right?
Correct.
Okay, in the case of TOS, the executor dies, the beneficiaries are then put as the
they either substitute themselves or come on record as plaintiffs.
They come as plaintiffs. So what will be the nature of the TOS then? Will it still be probate or will it be then how will it turn?
Moment executor dies, it is always letters of administration. Any stage.
Okay.
OP argatom, TOS argatom. Executor illana probate kadayadu. Simple. Some rule da.
But whereas I have already filed a petition, as defendant, I am also having a will. So I am also trying to prove. It's like I have also filed one more application which is jointly being taken. On the Samayathla, the character of the petition they have filed itself turns from probate to letters of administration as you told now.
It's only nature of the order. It doesn't turn actually. It's only nature of the order. Instead of probate, ellame same dana. Administer the estate, the effect of probate or letters of administration is only to right to administer the estate of the deceased testator. So if it is probate, it's a named person, executor, therefore probate. If it is not named, so it doesn't actually turn much on that.
Okay, then will there be a need of the beneficiaries who come into the suit to amend the petition they have filed earlier?
Yes,
as it
you
is
have
prayer for probate.
Yes, you have.
We have to amend.
I have done it. Executor dies or executor not willing to come and file.
Sorry, sir. Sorry, it got stuck. It got stuck. Can you repeat? Sorry, it got stuck. I couldn't hear you. Should be amended.
Executor may die, or executor might say, I am not interested to probate. I'll relinquish my executorship. So in such cases, you will have to definitely, if the petition is already pending, you will have to amend. If the executor goes away midway, you will have to amend and seek for letters of administration.
Okay, without amendment, they still carry
because
on.
Your prayer can't be probate and you won't be entitled to probate. So naturally, you have to amend and request the court to give you letters of administration.
Okay, sir. Okay, thank you. This is real time happening.
Sir, we have Sivakumar sir who would like to ask you a question.
Yes.
Balaji, what is a holographic will, Balaji?
Holograph will is the will written wholly in the handwriting of the testator.
Okay.
Person writes a will in his own handwriting. Entire will should be in his handwriting. Then it is called a holograph will.
Holograph will. Then the next question. Suppose if the executor is bedridden can the will be written and registered at his house?
Yes, there is a provision under the Registration Act where you can register any document at the private residence. So the requirements are you have to give a requisition letter supported by a medical certificate
Yes.
saying that this person is immobile, but however mental faculties are all right. And then the registrar will satisfy himself and proceed to register the document. In fact, recently a will was registered in the hospital. ICU, we had a will executed, and I advised them to even videograph the entire process.
Okay.
That lady died after 1 week. Therefore, it is possible to register a will, call the registrar to the hospital or residence and do it.
Yes, Balaji. The next question. Mufassal will, Balaji. Suppose if the will is written outside Chennai, outside, and the property is also outside, situated. Of course, I joined them a little later. I do not know whether you have answered. Properties are situated outside. Okay, right. Okay, that doesn't matter. Then, next question. Indian who has become a citizen abroad, can he write a will when he has properties in India?
Yes, why not? He can write a will.
Okay. Then next question. What is an executor by implication?
Executor by implication, there is expressa, the will doesn't say I appoint Shivakumar as the executor. You can gather from the terms that Shivakumar should carry out my wishes. In other words, solely by implication, Shivakumar is the executor from the reading of the will.
Okay, but last question. Children who are not, can we write children பிறக்காத குழந்தைகளுக்கு will எழுதணும். Children பிறக்காத குழந்தைகளுக்கு will எழுத முடியுமா?
Children born to my son தப்பு இல்லையா? Children born to my son they should enjoy and கொடுக்கலாம். As long as it is reasonable. You couldn't postpone it for eternity. Rule against violate பண்ணலனா பண்ணலாம்.
சரி, பிறக்காத சமயத்துல Balaji, பிறக்காத குழந்தையே பிறக்கல அப்போ
children born who will be born to my son னு கொடுக்கலாம் தப்பு இல்லையா?
கொடுக்கல. children பிறக்கவே இல்ல.
Shouldn't violate the rule of perpetuity. அதான் சொல்றேன். Children who will be born to my son கொடுக்கலாம்.
Okay. Right. Thank you.
Rule of perpetuity defeat பண்ண கூடாது.
Sir, we have Charumati. Like to ask you a question.
Hi Balaji,
yes,
thanks for the question. I just wanted to clarify. LTI is preferred over left thumb impression over right thumb impression. Is that like is there any court ruling on that only an LTI is preferred over RTI?
I don't court ruling irukka mathilla, it is practice. I think one state judgment which I came across, right thumb impression is permissible, it is not barred, but you have to prove that it is the practice to affix RTA. Right, I'll try to get the judgment. If I get it, I'll pass it on.
Oh, thank you so much.
Normal India it is only left thumb impression.
Yeah, because we work, the impression is more clear in the left hand than right hand. Okay.
Correct. That must be the reason why they have said, but it is not. There is no law saying that you should not affix in so far as wills are concerned. Right thumb impression, there is no law. But if the right thumb impression is fixed, you will have to establish to the court that the practice was prevailing. That one judgment which I stumbled upon, I'll give you the reference.
Thank you so much.
So we have Dr. M. Sanjeev Prabhu.
Yes.
Sir, could you tell me about the Order 25, sir?
Order 25 of the original side rules.
Sir.
Yes.
That is for the delay filing of affidavit, no, sir.
29, Order 25, Rule 9. எல்லாமே இருக்கு சார். Order 25 தான் மொத்த probate, letters, administration, succession certificate எல்லாமே Order 25 குள்ள comprise ஆயிடும்.
Okay.
Entire Order 25, Rule 70 rules இருக்கு. எல்லாமே deals only with matters of probate, letters, administration, succession certificate.
Okay. Thank you.
We have questions in the chat box as well, sir.
Okay.
We can.
Will executed by father giving only enjoyment right to grandchildren, then absolute right to great grandchildren, but by ignoring a will, partition the property, leaving their sisters whether such a will can be defense by sons in a partition suit filed by sisters. You can definitely put the will as a defense. Yeah, as long as the will great-grandchildren are born or to be born, the 18 years, the rule of perpetuity violate panada variko, definitely this will is valid, bequest is valid. You can put it up as a defense in the partition suit filed by the sisters. Probably the beneficiaries may have to implead themselves. Sons may not have. That's Gopal case, Supreme Court. Grandchildren filed caveat. Sons of fathers were alive. Grandchildren filed a caveat. The Supreme Court said yes. Another probably in this partition suit, the ultimate beneficiary must implead himself and say there is a will, prove the will, a suit will be dismissed.